So if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you've probably picked up by now that I'm a big fan of the Beatles, the Stones and Bob Dylan, and they all have one thing in common: they all started in the 60s. But something that I don't talk about as often is my wider love for the 1960s and its music. To me, it is the best decade of music by a considerable distance. Just the variety of it. I mean, the start of the 60s and the end of the 60s, they couldn't really be any different. You effectively get 3 decades in one with the 60s, and I just thought, because I don't talk about the wider 60s music, I should start a new series on this channel where I share a number of songs that I love from the 1960s, but I probably won't do in a review because I'm not going to review like that entire album. So I don't really have a name for this at the time of recording this. I'm thinking I'm going to call it Ollie's Sounds of the 60s, which, you know, is not the most creative name in the world, but it says what it needs to do on the tin. So the purpose of this video and this series, it's going to be a series, but let me know, it's my plan for it to be a series, but please do let me know down in the comments if you like this video. If you don't like it, I won't do any more, basically. But if you do, I will do more. It'll be just an as and when thing when I feel like doing it. So what I'm going to do in this video today is just share some songs from the 60s that I really like, talk a bit about them, and yeah, there's no particular reason I picked these ones. They're not in any order either. These are the first ones that came to mind. And I'm missing lots and lots of great ones probably. We're going to avoid obviously the Beatles, Dylan and the Stones in this because, you know, I've talked about them enough, and this is to shine a little light on some of the other things I love from that magical decade. Now naturally in these videos we are going to cover some classic songs that everybody will probably know, but we're also hopefully going to have a look at some lesser known songs of the decade, and maybe you'll discover some new stuff here, who knows. And I'm also open to other suggestions. If you have songs to suggest to me in the comments, if I've never heard them before, I will give them a listen, and if I like them, I might talk about them in future episodes, who knows. And I'm not going to pretend the 60s was perfect. You know, there was obviously some crap released in that decade. Sweet Caroline. But we're not going to talk about the crap of the 60s, we will talk about the good stuff. So without further ado, I think we should just stop messing about here and let's get it going. So where to begin? Well, how about with a political funk record from 1968, and this is an artist that passed away last year, sadly. It's Sly and the Family Stone with Everyday People. So to kick this one off here, we have this really catchy piano, which I love, and it just sounds happy, the piano. And it's just a happy song in general. Let's have a little bit of it, shall we? Let's have a bit of a boogie to it, shall we? Maybe not the right word, but yeah, let's hear a little bit of it. I mean, get on that piano, man. I mean, it's just cool, far out stuff. Sometimes I won't sing. It's just a fun record. That's what's good about 60s music. It's fun, innit? Just better stop that or get a copyright strike. So lyrically here, this song is basically about everybody getting on, everyday people. There is a blue one that can't accept the green one, who can't accept the red one for living like the pink one or whatever it goes like. Yeah, it's cool stuff. I discovered this song on a 60s playlist a number of years ago. I just put on this random playlist of 60 songs, and this was the first song that came on when I put it on shuffle, and it just blew my mind. I was like, this is brilliant. I knew Sly Stone before that. Song was like It's a Family Affair. Funnily enough, my family group chat is called It's a Family Affair. So yeah, but no, it's a good one. What have I got written down here in my notes? So, Sly's sister Rose Stone sings on the lead vocals on the chorus on here, which is arguably the highlight of the whole song. It's a really catchy chorus. It's worth mentioning as well, this was one of the first ever major pop songs that featured a band that had both black and white members, and I suppose for the same effect, male and female members as well. It wasn't really a common thing up until that point, so this was kind of breaking down barriers, this song. Yeah, it helps reinforce the lyrics as well, the idea that black and white people are singing together on this, that, you know, they are everyday people, you know, they can get along, we can all get along. It's the message of the 60s, really. It's a fantastic song, this one, and I'm sure you've all heard it, but if you've somehow not heard it, do give it a listen, because, you know, so on and Scooby-Dooby-Doo-Up. So that one was quite a well-known song, so let's look at perhaps a lesser-known song, or one that at least in the 60s was lesser known. It's since grown a bit more in stature, this song, but maybe some of you don't know this one. It's Hey Lover from the Daughters of Eve. Now, this is a girl band, and 60s girl bands were fantastic compared to, you know, modern girl bands kind of lost their way a bit in the 90s thanks to the fucking Spice Girls, but back then they were just as cool as the boys, really. And anyway, the Daughters of Eve, this is a band that originated in Chicago, and they never really got big outside of Chicago. They did absolutely nothing in this country. I don't think they did much in the rest of America either. Anyway, this song here is 60s through and through. It's got a catchy guitar riff, you know, hey, 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 lover, etc. It's simple song, and simple lyrics, but it's powerful. That's what's good about 60s songs. You know, they're not overcomplicated for the most part, the lyrics, or 60s pop songs. They're just very simple things, but they say what they need to say perfectly. It's what I love about the 60s. So have a little listen to it. Let's have a little bop to this one. Songs like this just make me really happy. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing deep hidden about them. It's not like you've got to dig deep to find out what this means. It's simple. It's about the power of love, the joy of love. That's what the 60s was about, peace and love and all of that. And just songs like this just reinforce that image. It's just happy. It makes me smile. Look. So this song does sound very Phil Spector in its production. It does sound a bit like the Ronettes, but it's obviously Phil Spector isn't involved in this. According to Apple Music, Daughters of Eve produced this song themselves. Now, take that with a pinch of salt, because I'm not sure I believe that, because there was very, very few acts in the 60s that produced themselves, especially in the mid-60s. This is about 64, 65, I think this is. So at that point, there was, I don't know if anyone was producing themselves really at that point. That didn't really become a thing until later in the decade. Anyway, I discovered this song through a girl, and what happened was I was sat in her car and it was night time and we were driving along and she put a playlist on, and I'm not going to lie, her music taste was pretty boring, it was pretty shit to be honest, and I was suffering this playlist and I was like, gosh, right. And then suddenly this song came on, that little guitar riff, and I was like, this sounds more me now, this is much more interesting, what's this? And yeah, it blew my mind. And I have since subsequently found out that this song, back in, I think it was 2023-ish, had a bit of a resurgence on TikTok. Now, I'm not on TikTok. I don't care for it. I don't even really understand how it works because, you know, I live under a rock. But this song apparently got big on there, and I think that's where it's grown traction from in the more recent years. Because, like I say, back in the 60s, it did absolutely nothing. Anyway, Daughters of Eve, they were going to release another 3 singles, so they released 4 in total, and then they broke up in 1968. None of the singles really did anything. Like I say, they were somewhat big in Chicago, but other than that, not really that big anywhere else in the world. Anyway, check them out if you've never heard of them, because this song is genuinely fabulous. It is 60s through and through. So that's 2 songs there from one of the former colonies, but let's bring it all back to the motherland where it was truly happening in the 1960s, London and the Kinks. Now, the Kinks is one of my favourite bands. They're arguably the most underrated band of the 60s. I say of the 60s, probably the most underrated band of all time. I could easily talk about some of the big songs of the 60s, Waterloo Sunset, Days, You Really Got Me, The Sunny Afternoon, but we're not going to talk about them. We're going to go with a somewhat deeper cut. We're going to go with a track from the album The Kinks Are the Village Green Preservation Society, which again is one of the most underrated albums of the 60s, but that's a video for another day. And we're going to look at the song Starstruck, which I think was potentially a single from the album. It's definitely the most commercial song from the album. Now, the whole album itself is brilliant. It is one of the early concept albums, the idea of, well, the clue is what it is. The clue is in the name, the Village Green Preservation Society. It's just about English countryside. And Starstruck features in that concept. It's the idea of this girl sort of leaving the country to go to the big city, so London or whatever, or New York if you're in America, I guess, and being starstruck by the lights. That she's pulled in and starstruck by the big city lights, the big city way of life. Yeah, again, this song, it's a common trend with 60 songs. They're never really more than 2.5, 3 minutes long, which is perfect. I don't want every song like these days to be 4 minutes long. Just short, sweet ones like this that does everything it needs to do in such a short, sweet amount of time. Lyrically here, as I say, we have Ray Davies singing about a girl who's become starstruck on the big city lights to mix, and the way the vocals, the way that Ray Davies is singing this song, critics have described it as being a cross between Buddy Holly and the Turtles. Should we have a little listen to it? I think we should. Starstruck, baby, starstruck. Chorus here is where it sounds a bit Turtles with the backing vocals, whereas the way that Ray is singing it sounds more Buddy Holly. See? Baby, you're running around like you're crazy. Now, I've known this song for years. When the 50th anniversary edition of Village Green Preservation Society came out back in 2018, this song and the track Village Green are the two that stand out to me, which funny enough come back to back on the album. And that's when I discovered this song. And then a couple of years after that, there was a film that came out called oh, was it Last Night in Soho, I think it was called, and this song was used in the trailer for that film, and that partly made me go and see it just because this song features. It's amazing. I can hear a song like this in a trailer and be like, yep, I'm going to see that film regardless. Anyway, I could easily talk about the whole album here, and I probably will do a review on it at some point. We'll see some point in the future, who knows when. But this song for me is the standout track of the album, and yeah, it's a great song, Starstruck. Yeah, I think the Kinks will definitely come up again at some point in this series, because you can't talk about the 60s really and not talk about the Kinks. But I think Starstruck is a good starting point to bring them up in this series. And Noel Gallagher is a very big fan of Ray Davies and of this album and this song. Speaking of Noel Gallagher, this next song is called Half the World, This Guy's in Love with You by Herb Alpert and the, I can never pronounce this, Tejuna Brass, but it's more importantly written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. I hope you got the reference there. If you listen to them two songs side by side, you'll see what I mean. Let's do it. Half the World Away. Yeah, and now we'll go to This Guy's in Love with You. See what I mean? But you knew that anyway. This is another song from 1968. I should have said Starstruck is also from 1968. So this is 4 songs that we've done, and so far 3 of them have been from 1968. There's a bit of a trend developing here, isn't there? Anyway, if I was to ever engage in some karaoke, it's not something I do because I'm self-aware that I cannot sing. This is probably the song that I would roll with because it's kind of a spoken word song. You know, it's very different to everything else that we've spoken about so far, this one, but it's beautiful in its arrangement. Let's have a little listen, shall we? Go on then, let's do it. I might even demonstrate some karaoke skills to you, you lucky devils. Should really stand up if I'm going to do karaoke. This will probably cut my head off because the camera's too low. Here we go. Our hands are shaking, and then my heart keeps breaking 'cause I need your love. Probably cut off the top of my head there, but never mind. Apologies there for the terrible singing, but I hope that got the point across of what I'm trying to make. Anyway, it's a nice slow ballad, this one. It's simply about being in love. The clue is in the title, This Guy's in Love with You. Lyrics here, they're fabulous, as is the arrangement. The brass, the way it builds and builds and builds throughout the song, especially when it gets to the chorus, it sounds like you are ascending up into the heavens. Yeah, Burt Bacharach, one of the greatest writers of all time, and I am sure he will come up again in future episodes. But yeah, if you've never heard that song, I'm very, very surprised. But if you haven't, give it a whirl. So keeping in the tune here of slower songs, we come to one of my favourite songs of all time, Pale Blue Eyes by the Velvet Underground. If there was ever an example of lyrics and music being perfectly matched, then it's this song. Everything about this song is perfect. It's delicate sounding, the lyrics, the guitar, Lou Reed's vocals, the whole lot of it. It's the best song the Velvet Underground ever did as far as I'm concerned. Let's have a wee listen, shall we? But mostly you just make me mad. It's beautiful, isn't it? Listen to them words. Baby, you just make me mad. What a fantastic piece of music. Yeah. Linger on. So delicate. And yet perfect. So the song is apparently written about Lou Reed's first ever love interest, Shelley Albin, I think is how you pronounce it, who at the time was married to another man. So it creates the idea of this perfect song of being about unobtainable love, something we've probably all experienced at some point in our lives. I first discovered this song during COVID. Again, it was via a playlist. I put a playlist on and this song came on and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Oh, why have I never heard this before? It just felt like it was very, very me. If I could play guitar and if I could sing and if I was in a band, this is the sort of song I would probably do. It'd be very moody, this kind of stuff. Yeah, sometimes you hear songs from the 1960s, like, for example, Hey Lover that came earlier in the video. You just hear that and you just think, yeah, that is the 60s through and through. But then there's other songs like this one where you hear it and it's like, it's obviously from the 60s. Again, that's 1969, this one, not 68. Yeah, it's obviously from the 60s, but it doesn't sound necessarily like the stereotypical 60s. That's what I love about it. You know, this song could be released today and it would still sound as relevant. It would still sound as fresh. It's a timeless record, and that's what's great about the 60s. You can have songs that sound perfect of the time and songs that sound timeless of the time. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I love this song with every ounce of my being. That's all I've got to say on it. And yeah, it's a brilliant song. One of my all-time favourites. Right, let's pick the pace back up because you can't talk about 60s music and not mention Motown, so let's just go with a straight up classic here, Nowhere to Run by Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. Motown is just the happiest music going. You can't not smile when you listen to it, even when the lyrics are particularly downbeat. I mean, this song here, it's kind of lyrically not the most upbeat lyrics, you know. It's basically about a toxic relationship, but it doesn't matter because it sounds really happy because of the arrangement. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a very happy song. Let's have a little listen to it. So you get the drums, you get the bass, and then the vocals. I love it. It just makes you start smiling, doesn't it? It's fun. So anyway, I'm of a generation that grew up with Top Gear. Arguably, in my opinion, one of the greatest TV shows ever created. And I discovered this song via the Vietnam special. It was basically because it was obviously in Vietnam, it was largely a 60s soundtrack that episode. And at one point, the trio are riding their bikes out of, I can't remember where it is, but it's the part where it's the place where they get their suits made. And then once they've had their suits made, they're riding out of the city. And as they're riding out, this song is blaring. And I can just remember the first time I ever watched it, being like, that song is brilliant, I need that in my life. And I've loved it ever since then. Now this single here, this song was the group's follow-up to Dancing in the Street. Probably Martha Reeves' biggest ever song, but I personally think this is a better song, Nowhere to Run, than Dancing in the Street is. Yeah, but then this song is Motown at its absolute best. It's the 60s at its absolute best. Everything about this song is just brilliant. Yeah, like I say, compared to the last song, this one does sound very 60s, but it also feels timeless as well, which, you know, there's not many decades can do that. I mean, you listen to songs like, certain songs, like, for example, from the 80s, where it just sounds like it belongs in the 80s. It should stay there in the 80s. This song does sound like it's from the 60s, but it doesn't sound like it should stay in the 60s. Don't you dare leave the 60s kind of thing. Yeah, it's a brilliant song, this one, I love it. So it's time now for a little feature that I would like to include in this show. You see, both my parents are children of the 60s, but they both see the 60s in very different ways. For example, my mother, who was in my previous video on Man on the Run, go and watch that video, she appears in that. She doesn't really care for the 60s music that much, other than like the big ones like the Beatles and stuff like that. But the overall 60s, she doesn't really care for it. But my dad, he's the other way, he loves the 60s, and my love for the 60s music comes from him. So, since he loves the 60s and he's a child of the 60s, he grew up with this music. We're going to have a little feature here that I'm going to call, oh, wait for this, Gary's 60s Wonders. Yeah, I probably need a better name than that. Probably need an intro for that bit as well. Maybe I'll have made an intro by the time I edit this, who knows. Maybe in a future episode he will also appear in this. At the minute, he doesn't know anything about this. Anyway, basically, what we're going to do here is songs that he has introduced me to, maybe recently, maybe over the years, but it's songs that he loves from the 60s. This is his little part of the show. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, me and him, we were sat in the car waiting for the ice cream man in the pouring rain. Don't ask, that sounded better in my head. It sounds really weird when I say it out loud. But anyway, with the rain pattering down on the roof and on the windscreen and stuff, he asked me if I could put a song on. And I said, yeah, why not? And I put it on for him, and it was a song by the Cascades, and it was called Rhythm of the Rain. Now, I'd never heard this song before, and I put it on for him, and I was like, this is brilliant, I love this song. Yeah, when I was researching this video, I discovered that the Cascades are actually an American band. I assumed, based on the sound of them, they were Merseybeat. They sound very much of that 1963 era from Liverpool, the Beatles and everything else, Jerry and the Pacemakers that came out of there. It just sounds like that. Lyrically, it's a breakup song. It's innocent and joyous with some lovely harmonies on it. I guess we should have a little listen to it. Sounds very 60s, doesn't it, this one? Well, it's a bit like Hey Lover. It's very much of its time. And maybe this one is one of those ones that doesn't really leave the 60s, but it's still really good. I like it a lot. Again, it's very simple. That's a common trend with 60 songs, but it works brilliantly and it makes me smile. I mean, again, it's a downbeat song, really, but it's just, there's something about 60s music. It's just happy, feel-good music. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to say on this song. It's a good one. And that concludes the first edition here of Gary's 60s Wonders. Wahey! Maybe he'll appear in future, hey? And finally here, I've got to mention the Mamas and Papas and a track from their fantastic album, If You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears, because this album is one that I adore. It is one of my favourite albums from the 60s. I don't know why I've never reviewed this one, actually. I keep meaning to do it, and I will probably review this one at some point in the near future. And I could pick many of the tracks from this this album to feature in this video here. But I'm not going to pick the really obvious one, and I'm also not going to pick the other fairly obvious one. We're going to go with track 2 instead, and it's called Straight Shooter. So that riff at the start of this, the ding ding, I'm not going to sing it, but I've done that enough already. But yeah, this riff on here is everything. It drives the song, and again, it's a really, really catchy riff. Now, I don't think this song was ever a single, and if it had been, I imagine it would have got banned at the time by the BBC, because firstly, some of its lyrics have drug references in, Just Get Me High being an example of one of those lyrics. It's also got some sexually suggestive lyrics. I'm a real straight shooter, if you know what I mean. Yes, John, we know what you mean, from one straight shooter to another. Let's have a little listen to it, shall we? There's the riff. I mean, listen. Ding da ding da ding 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 da ding da ding 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 da ding ding da ding ding. Now, since this is the Mamas and Papas, you expect great harmonies from it, and this song just perfectly fits that. You've got Mama Cass, you've got Michelle Phillips as well doing fantastic backing vocals, and John Phillips' lead vocals are fantastic. I mean, listen here. Anyway, like I say, I really do need to do a proper review of this album that it comes from, because it's one of my favourite albums of the 60s, and this song is one of my favourite songs from it, and I will probably feature more songs from this album in future episodes in this series. So, there we are, that's 8 songs from the 60s, and...
Number 9.
What's that sound?
Number 9.
No.
Number 9.
Oh no. No. Oh, I forgot, there's an ancient superstition around these parts, everybody. Basically, if you talk about 8 60s songs, and you don't mention a 9th one, then Revolution 9 starts playing, and it won't stop playing until you've mentioned the 9th song. Oh god, and that 9th song has to have some sort of Beatles reference kind of thing. So, it's time for a part of the show that we're going to call Ollie's Beatles Corner. And yeah, again, that probably needs a bit of work, that name, but anyway, we'll digress on that. So the idea of this part is it's not going to be a Beatles song specifically, it's going to be a song from the 60s that the Beatles wrote and gave to someone else, or someone covering a Beatles song, or a song, or the original version of a song that the Beatles covered at some point in their career. So let's quickly talk about, what should we go with? World Without Love by Peter and Gordon. Yeah, oh god, thank god that got rid of Revolution 9. Whew, dodged a bullet there, everybody. Don't do that. Don't come round here and talk about songs from the 60s and just talk about 8 of them, because you will be traumatised forevermore by Revolution 9. Anyway, yes, this is a tune that Paul McCartney wrote for his almost future brother-in-law, Peter Asher, and his mate Gordon. Peter, what's he called? I don't know his second name, sorry. Anyway, yes, this is one of those songs from the 60s that is very, very 60s. It stinks of the 60s, this one. It stinks also of early Lennon-McCartney. Paul McCartney apparently wrote this song when he was 16, which means it's technically a song from the 1950s. But he always considered it not good enough for the Beatles, so he gave it away. John Lennon, I don't think had anything to do with the writing of this song, but he really was always amused by that opening line, "Please lock me away." I think he also suggested to Paul that the whole song should be it starts with the intro, and then he sings that opening line, and then the song just ends. That's it, the whole song. There is also a demo of this on YouTube of Paul McCartney singing this. I think it's Paul at the piano. It's pretty poor quality, but it's still worth a listen if you want to hear what it would have sounded like potentially with Paul McCartney singing it as a Beatles song. Let's have a little quick listen, shall we? Be-dee-doo. Stings of Lennon McCartney, doesn't it? Or early Lennon McCartney. Again, it's a simple song, it's catchy enough. I think it was also a #1 single in both here in the UK and over in the US. Yeah, it was a very successful one. I think it's potentially one of the only songs they ever gave away that went to #1. So there we go. It's not one of my... It's not like the greatest song that Paul McCartney has ever done, otherwise he'd have done it himself, but it is one of my personal favourites of the songs that he gave away. It's definitely the song that defines Peter and Gordon, and for some strange reason, the Supremes also decided to cover this late in 1964. Anyway, good song, give it a listen, I'm sure you've heard of it, but yeah. Anyway, that's it for the first edition of Ollie's Beatles Corner. So yeah, there we go. Right, so as I was saying there, that's 9 60s songs that I dig, and I think they're also quite varied. I mean, This Guy's in Love With You is a very different song to Straight Shooter, for example. Everyday People is a very different song to Pale Blue Eyes, and so on and so on. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this first episode. Please do let me know down below what you think of it. Do you like it? Do you not like it? If you don't like it, I won't do any more. Sorry for wasting your time. You've done well, I'll get through the whole video if you don't like it. Anyway, yeah, like I say, let me know in the comments what you think. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'll probably do a playlist so you can see all episodes in this series, all these sounds of the 60s, if that is the name we roll with. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on a future video. Goodbye.